is the greatest threat to every profession, every industry, and every company in the world right now. As it is rightly said by Mr. Frank, every case involving cybercrime that I have been involved in, I have never found a master criminal sitting somewhere in Russia or Hong Kong. It always ends up being that somebody who clicked on the wrong link or opened the wrong email. As the world is increasingly getting interconnected, everyone shares the responsibility of securing cyberspace. Now, I kindly request Jay Shankar sir to address the participants.
Thank you, Maria. In the capacity of the head of the Department of Zoology and also the teacher coordinator for the National Science Association, I take this opportunity to welcome all three speakers, professors from the IIM Bangalore, Professor Rahul, Dr. Abhipsa Paul, and Dr. Nina Pandey. College, on behalf of the management, I am grateful to them for accepting our invitation to create this awareness and sensitize our students on the cybercrime and cyber security related topic. That's why this webinar was envisaged. And I should thank our student coordinator, Ashna, who is actually the driving force. This is, in a way, her brainchild. We get ideas from students and we implement it as webinar or program. So that's how the genesis of this webinar started. With the ongoing pandemic and the online deliberations, programs, and webinars, and even classes being conducted, we thought this is the suitable juncture to hold something on this topic. With that, I'm also thankful to the management, our principal, Reverend Dr. Victor Lobo, and also all the department members in the Department of Zoology for their support and encouragement. The National Science Association core group members, the president, vice presidents, and the student coordinators of this webinar, both Ashna and David, and all the other students associated with this webinar. Thanks and welcome to all the participants, student participants who have logged in to get aware of and sensitized on this topic on cybercrime. And I also place on record thanks to the NSS unit of the college for collaborating with us in hosting this webinar. I now hand it over to the NSS officer of the college, Professor Selvin Paul, to also address the gathering. Thank you all.
So good evening, one and all present here. It is a warm regards from National Service Scheme, from the college management, and from the unit of NSS. I like to appreciate all the resource person who have joined us for today's talk. And I want to thank the participants who are present for today's talk as well. So participant will also get lots of insights about the topic. So we are eagerly waiting for all the resource persons to deliver their talk. Thank you once again.
So I believe it's over to Ashna to start with the the formal program part of the webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Jay Shankar. So good evening to one and all present here. I thank everyone heartily for joining us in this awareness program, Cyber and Crime. So our first speaker today will be Professor Rahul Dey. Professor Rahul Dey is a professor in IIM Bangalore, Professor of Information Systems, at IIM Bangalore. He has served as the Hewlett-Packard Chaired Professor in ICT for Sustainable Economic Development from 2004 to 18. He teaches courses in AI and information systems. His primary research interests are AI ethics, e-government systems, open source, digital payments, telemedicine, and ITC for development. He is the current Dean of Programs and Chairperson of Office of International Affairs. So I thank you for joining us today, Professor Dey, and welcome aboard Cybersecurity. Over to you.
Okay. Uh, Thank you. First thank the Natural Science Association and David and Maria, and also Professor Jay Shankar for this warm welcome. I when I was asked to, I was invited to this meeting. I thought I should first wait. I am going to talk about issues of personal threats, and I had spoken to my colleagues here, Professor Pal and Pandey, and we had agreed that Professor Pandey will go first. But if it's okay, I'll go ahead. Is that okay, Nina? I'll begin.
Absolutely, sir. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure. Okay, so I have a few things to say. I'll say them quickly. These are about, I will speak mainly about social media and what I will classify as personal threats on social media. So to be very clear what I mean by social media, today there are lots of media available on the internet. So writing a blog is also considered to be communicating on social media, and writing email, which many of us still do to a large extent, is also a kind of social media. And email is possibly one of the oldest applications on the internet. And I recall using internet email for the first time on the internet in 1987. So it is quite old. It predates the commercial internet. But today I am restricting my comments to what is popularly now understood as social media, things like Instagram or just a moment here, things like Instagram, uh, Facebook, Snapchat, and WhatsApp, and also LinkedIn, and there are many others like this. These sites have some peculiar characteristics, and one of them is that you can create a profile, and in this profile you are encouraged to share personal details. So the WhatsApp, the basic profile is quite simple. It's either an image and your name and phone number. But in something like LinkedIn, you can create a very elaborate profile, and many people actually give their entire CV on it. And it's likewise for Facebook and Instagram, and people are quite creative about what they put on these pages. Then you can form groups on these Facebook sites. So these groups are a select group of people who communicate through this medium. So the groups could be a private group, closed group, or they could be open, or they could be something in between, both private and closed, depending on how you choose to set it up. Then there is another interesting possibility which actually did not exist in the prior social media, which is of instant broadcasting. So you can send a message quickly, and all of you on this call will know this. Once you send a message, it reaches a lot of people instantly. And these messaging can be both public or private. You can send it to a closed group or to a public group. What is more, you can also receive messages in this manner. And these messages could be multiple things: images, text, videos, and so on. So this is what I'm referring to, and I believe there are many threats on the social media. Just to give you a list, I'm just going to list them out, and maybe during the question answer I can elaborate what they are, but I'll briefly say what they are. First is these become echo chambers, and that's the phrase being used nowadays, echo chamber. An echo chamber is a chamber in which your own voice comes back to you. So in some of these sites, if you express an interest, I'll take an example. Maybe you're interested in cricket. And so these echo chambers will basically constantly give you cricketing messages. Now you may like that, but what they're leaving out is other sports that you may be interested in, or other things that you are interested in. So they prioritize this echo constantly. Secondly, they are a major source of fake news and fake facts. So today this is rampant. There is all sorts of things being said on social media which have no connection with truth. They will say things about the COVID pandemic. They will say things about the vaccinations. They will say things about political people. They will say things about social activists. Whatever it is, a lot of it is fake. And there is now an active counter industry which has come up who counter this fake news, who check for facts. Then there are fake images, and I believe fake images are worse than fake news because these are manipulated images where you show a person, say, sitting in a bar, and it may be that this person never goes to bars, has never been in one, but you show them and it's a very lifelike image, and it makes a far greater impression. Then there are these instances of bullying, threatening, and shaming. Bullying and threatening go together. If somebody says something which is not the group, in the group or outside the group, some people don't like it, there is, because of the instant communication, there are instant challenges to it. There is abuse, there is shaming. Women in particular are body shamed relentlessly on these sites. Then there is blackmail. It goes beyond this. You say something, people manufacture images or text that you may or may not have said, and blackmail you, demanding money from you or demanding some reparations for hiding what you may or may not have said. Then there is stalking. People stalk you on these sites. They come after you, they chase you around, they find out where all you have been. So you may post pictures of traveling somewhere. They will say you've been here. They will follow you constantly. This is called cyber stalking. Then there is spying, which is sort of the latest cutting edge tool that is being used. People spy on you. You may think, as a student, nobody will spy on you. However, now it's coming out that these tools are being used to spy on all sorts of people. You may be friends with somebody who's a friend of somebody else who's important, so all of you will get spied on. Now, I take concrete examples here, not too many, just to elaborate what I'm saying. About shaming, there were recently this case of bully buy and sully deals. These are strange names, but apparently they have meaning on social media. They were directly targeted at Muslim women, and they used public profile pictures of women to shame them and to really use abusive language against them. And also in some cases they were being
Was there a connectivity problem?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The student coordinator, Ashna, can check with the
Yes,
sir.
sir. Just give me
Please.
2 minutes. I'll
Sure.
hang up.
Okay. Participants, I believe there is some connectivity lag. So we will get back to Professor Rahul Day for reconnecting with the webinar.
Dear participants, I take this time to inform the guidelines. So general guidelines to be followed during the webinar. Firstly, please keep yourselves on mute and kindly unmute only during the panel discussion. Secondly, we request you to turn on your video while addressing your questions at the end. Also, kindly note, the feedback form will be sent in the chat box at the end of the meeting. Kindly access it to download your attendance. Thank you.
sorry,
Yes.
I got pushed out. I don't know when I got logged out. Can you tell me when this was?
So you were mentioning the Sully Deals app.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, I think that's so. I'll just complete what I'm saying. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was logged out. So I was mentioning Sully deals, bully buy. These were basically fake news to shame Muslim women. Then there is Tech Fog, which is to spread lies. Tech Fog is an app that is being used to push lies on social media, basically on WhatsApp. Then there is Pegasus, which is being used to spy, and Pegasus was purchased by apparently by the Indian government, and it is being used to spy on people. And there are also incidents. There was a recent incident in which two boys were blackmailing girls, and they were murdered by the family of the girl. So it got escalated pretty badly. Now, these are all examples of the threats that I mentioned to you before. I'll mention three more. One is impersonation. So there is a problem of people pretending to be something else on social media. They assume names of known personalities, and they fool people. There is also evidence of planting evidence. So there is now, it is well known that certain of these social media are being used, people infiltrate and plant evidence and make you a party to certain acts that for which you had actually no idea. And there is, of course, harvesting personal data. They are using your personal data to profile you and to use it to shame you or put you on other threats. Now, there are some other personal level challenges. I'll get into them if there is time later on. There is addiction to social media. Addiction is very similar to taking drugs or gambling. And I was reading a number just today itself. It's almost in the 18 to 24 age group, almost 30% of people are addicted to social media, which means they cannot stay away from it and they have to keep going back to it. There is massive stress related to something called multitasking. So you stay on your phone and you keep switching from one task to another. So this is stress related to that. Then there is distraction. So every time there is a pop-up on your phone, it distracts you from your work. And now the going average, which is now quoted all over the world, is it takes about 23 minutes to come back to work if you are distracted. There is this fear of missing out, and many young people suffer from this. If they are, if they are not on some app, it appears that they are losing out or actually not gaining. And then there is, of course, peer pressure, which drives the fear of missing out. So I'll stop here and I'll request Nina to carry on, and we can come back to these issues later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dev. Let me just introduce her before she starts. So our next speaker will be Dr. Nina Pandey. Just 1 second. Yeah. So Professor Nina completed her PhD in Information Systems from IIM Bangalore, and her thesis was in the domain of Internet governance, in which she analyzed various aspects of policymaking with respect to the Internet. She had dealt with multi-stakeholder versus multilateral form of Internet governance and the impact of digital divide on sponsored data plan policy. She had been a member of a startup in cybersecurity source incubated at NSRCL, IIM Bangalore. She has completed her MTech in Computer Science and Technology from IIT Madras and Masters of Science in Statistics, MSc in Statistics from IIT Kanpur. So thank you for joining us today, Professor Nina, and over to you.
Thank you, Ashna, for the introduction. And thank you, Dr. Jay Shankar, for inviting us here to be able to interact with the students. So cybersecurity remains an all-time favorite topic. I am, as a parent too, I have a son who is in not this age group, a little bit younger, but it is always good to give lectures on cybersecurity. Just looking at how involved these students and kids are. So on cybersecurity, how we planned is, because Abhiksha will be talking about the digital payments and the security issues in digital payments, and Professor Dave will talk about in general for the end users how much cybersecurity matters. What I thought is I will talk, because my work also relates to internet governance. What I thought I will give an overview to the students on how does this internet impact in general all aspects of society. So not only the end users, but businesses, countries, governments, everybody, and how cybersecurity is absolutely important. And obviously, I will also end with saying that awareness is the key, as one of the students earlier mentioned. So, see, internet, when it started, it was a boon. It is still a boon for all its stakeholders, including governments, businesses, and the end users. So, for businesses, I teach a course called Transforming, Leading Digital Transformations. So now businesses are able to use this whole social media plus everything else which is related to in and around internet, right? Data that they get from the internet. So they are able to use that for completely transforming their businesses. Similarly, governments are also able to use all of these technologies that we have around, especially internet. So internet, cloud, these 4 or 5 are the prominent technologies, but internet remains the most important because of the kind of data that we are able to collect, transmit, and collect, right? So governments are now able to offer their services. The job of the government is to offer their services to citizens. So using internet, they've been able to actually provide very, very good services. And similarly, for end users, we've all seen it has allowed us to get so much more information, interact with people. So it has been a boom in lot of senses. In the times of COVID, we have seen that we are sitting at home and getting almost everything done, especially in the urban population. We've gotten most of the things done. So it is a boon. However, with all of this, its benefits, it brings a lot of issues also. Okay, and one of those issue is the cyber security, where so see, this internet, when it came in, it brought with it anonymity, right? A lot of you can be completely anonymous and do a lot of stuff. And that is what is becoming a huge problem nowadays, because now it is like this. So anonymity, and one country is attacking another country, one business is attacking another business without anybody having any idea. I mean, I'm sure as this side is increasing, the other side of forensics, studying where the attack is coming from, is also improving. However, this anonymity is basically something which earlier was considered one of the best things which internet has brought in, turning that into one of the not so good things, because people are able to do a lot of things which they otherwise wouldn't have done, right? So what I will do is I will just, as Professor Dave was also mentioning, just give a few cases just so that you know that it is not only the end users, right, who is being impacted. Big businesses, big companies who are investing a lot of energy and resources into cybersecurity still get attacked quite a lot. And what are the different ways? Okay, so I will consider it 3 different stakeholders. One is the countries, another is businesses, and then I'll come to the end users, which I will not talk too much about because it is going to be get talked. So see, in the case of countries attacking each other using internet as the medium, one is Stuxnet was one of the cases which became very, very prominent in this whole internet governance issue, where countries like US and Israel, I mean, obviously it was not proven, but all indications were there that countries like US and Israel, they got together and they tried to do substantial damage to the nuclear program of Iran. What they, in fact, with it was just a worm which will go and infect their machines, and you will not even know, like people who are running those nuclear programs will not even know whether that is running or not, right? But it basically ruined 1/5 of Iran's nuclear centrifuges. Okay, so the impact was that much just by a worm which came into their system through a USB flash drive. That was one of the most prominent things which happened in countries related to internet, how internet brought it to a almost complete standstill. The other one which most of you would have heard is about the Snowden revelations, right? What they did, what happened in 2013, where government of one country is snooping on government of other countries, and other countries in the sense their collaborators, like US snooping on Germany, US snooping on Brazil. So continuously basically surveilling on what they are doing, how they are doing, and all of this is possible because of the internet and because of US having a huge control on how internet infrastructure works. Okay. So I mean, in fact, this Snowden time, that when it happened 2013, it had gone to the extent that people had countries outside of the US had started talking about laying internet cables, leaving US in between. So basically from Brazil to Europe and Europe to Asia and Europe to Africa. Basically it became, people started saying that no, let us develop a parallel internet because of what happened during that whole episode. And obviously Snowden would have not told all of it. Okay, so within countries using internet as a tool to impact each other, it is becoming a big deal. In fact, I do not remember the saying exactly, but somebody has made this statement that next world war will not be held in the basically fields or the way it happened on ground. It will be in it will be a cyber warfare mostly. And we have seen that, right? A lot of DDoS attacks. If you've maybe you do not know the name, which is that it is called DDoS attack, but you would have definitely heard of some attacks which makes a particular website inaccessible. So what happened very recently in December, what happened? This Nobel Prize, right? It comes, so the institute which awards these Nobel Prizes, what happens that Nobel Foundation, their website went under DDoS attack. Okay, and what to tell you in very short, what a DDoS attack is, it is called distributed denial of service attack. That means, so there's a website. This is a Nobel Foundation website, and that website is, so the day they were supposed to declare the awards. Okay, so people, so these attackers know that today a lot of people will go to their website to check who who have got those awards. So what these attackers did was they will send a lot of requests to that website. All of those requests will come through robos. So robo machines will continuously send millions and millions of requests to that website. Like you have to imagine millions or billions of requests saying www.google.com at that particular instant. If a robo is doing it, it is continuously doing that. So that kind of attacks are called DDoS attacks, where others, the genuine users of the website, those who genuinely want to go and check that website, will have no way. They will not be able to go there. Okay, so it recently happened with Nobel Foundation, and it was done by a set of people who believed that these Nobel awards which are given are discriminatory. They do not give awards to people who are in India or China. China has still now got only 8 awards. India has gotten only 12 awards. So basically they have US I think has 358 of Nobel Prizes. So the belief of people saying that, okay, this is not completely neutral, they just did a DDoS attack. But you understand that how much impact this had. This was still a Nobel Foundation, right? It is a foundation which does not have any business interest. So coming to business as part of it, these DDoS attacks are one of the most prominent ways of attacking a business. As I told you, one of these was the Nobel Foundation, but other than that, very recently, Microsoft came and said that Microsoft has an Azure basically a platform for developing AI applications. So what they said, and they have clients who use Azure. So for a client, they recently saw that there was an attack which was sending 21.8 million requests for that website per second. So all of these are related to, are all DDoS attacks. That means they do not want the genuine users of the website, those who genuinely want to go and use it, to be able to go. They would attack, and they will make so many requests that the server of that organization would just hang, and it will not be able to basically take so much load. Okay, and these DDoS attacks are not only for businesses. You would have heard about India attacking China, or China attacking India, or India attacking Pakistan, or Pakistan, not India attacking, but basically these guys who are overly patriotic doing these DDoS attacks on the government websites of each other countries. Okay, so this is what. So this is then I told you about a little bit about on the business side, and now so a few other concerns are, so this was about between country to country or between business to business, but what are the issues around a country and its citizens, right? So this surveillance that happens, what Professor Day was earlier mentioning about Pegasus. Do you have any idea how does Pegasus come on your phone, or can come on anybody's phone? It'll come, you will get a missed call, a WhatsApp missed call, and once that missed call comes on your phone, it can be deleted from your phone. There is no notification that you got a missed call, or SMS will be sent, or whatever, yeah, SMS will be sent, and there will be no notification. So the technology has been developed so much that something happens on your platform, and something as big as installing a software which is going to track everything that you are doing on your phone is happening without the user having any idea of something is amiss on their phones. Okay, so now this comes under how countries can use internet and something for surveilling the citizens or whatever. So the way the countries relationship is with the citizen, the way the country is believes that whether they can surveil upon their citizens or not. So these are some of the things again which get possible because of the internet. And now in this case, it goes to an extent that even if you're aware of such things, you may not be able to contain or restrict such things happening. There are a lot of such examples. We've discussed about Aadhaar, how the lot of data being collected, and we do not know if there is an attack, security attack happens there, what will happen, who has the surety that the data is kept sure. Finally, let me come to the business relationship with the consumers, right? So I talked about countries, I talked about businesses, I talked about countries and citizens. Now businesses with consumers. So businesses and consumers, I'm sure Professor Dave will talk a lot about it, but a few examples, very prominent examples, Cambridge Analytica, everybody knows about it. The kind of data which you thought that you are putting for your own benefit, for your interaction with others, how is a company using all of that data for their benefit? And that benefit is not only monetary, it is being used by a company which is going to change the way your social systems work, the way your political systems are working. Right, so just by taking a consumer, giving a data to an organization happily, voluntarily, non-voluntarily, but it is having an impact on the political system of a country. Right. Similarly, Google terms and conditions. All of you will have either Google, either Gmail or Facebook or Instagram, or all of them, all these accounts. Right. You Instagram, everything you will have. Have you ever seen the terms and conditions? I have tried and it does not work. I myself doing research in internet governance have tried, and I'm like, after some time it gets very tiring, right? So what happens is, and also you do not have an option of picking and choosing some, that okay, I want these, but I don't want these. So I'm ready to part with this type of my data, but I'm not ready to part that. If I'm using your email account, I'm not ready to part all my emails that I'm writing to anybody. You can scan those emails and then you can, based on that, you can do whatever you want to do. So the consent that they are taking, it is not granular, right? That, okay, I'm fine with sharing this data, but I'm not fine with sharing this data. Right. So and then there are a lot of other issues around. I think I hope I'm not going too much beyond my time. So there's another issue of mobile app security. And when Ashna mentioned, I was running a cybersecurity startup in NSR cell, I am Bangalore. That time, we were giving training to, we were going to actually colleges and police officers and giving them training about all of these things. And we realized when you install an app on your phone, we almost nobody had an idea that an app which is a mobile gaming app, why does it need permission to your camera, to your microphone, to your location, and lots of hundreds of other things, right? So these are an n number of apps you have installed, or every app, and you can go and check. We used to do these workshops where you can go and check that this app, and later you can go and put it off. You can do it because you know that they may not need it, but initially they ask for, and you don't have an option, right? You don't have an option. So these things are, it is absolutely important, critical for everyone to know. So yeah, you would have heard of OLX scams. Somebody wanted, we used to go to the police station to talk to people during that time, and we realized there's a flow of young kids like you continuously coming and saying that, okay, he bought my PC and he said that he will give me money, but the money is stuck somewhere, so I paid. We have filled forms for hundreds of students, all of them in the category of, most of them, I wouldn't say all of them, but most of them, who do not realize that, yes, if somebody is, I mean, what all things that can go wrong. There's this whole thing of dark web. What you're seeing now is only this very small part of web, the huge dark web that is waiting to again take control. So a lot of things around this. Now see, when governments are aware of all of this, right? Civil society is aware of all of this, and they are doing a lot of things. If you see, to keep the internet secure, right? So governments are setting up CERT teams are there, computer emergency response teams, I think. Then they plan for cyber security trainings. They release regular advisories that this can go wrong. They are coming up with better data protection laws. So a lot of things are happening. A lot of things are happening. But the key remains awareness of the end user. So you have to be aware. You have to ensure that not only you, I too. So we as end users, right? We as end users have to ensure that we use all of these technologies, all of this internet as a master. We ensure that it does for us what we want it to do, not that we become a slave where we do what it is asking us to do, right? So yeah, let these internet be the masters of the internet rather than becoming slave to it. And yeah, awareness. But we will talk a little bit more when you will have specific questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Nina, how you told us about the terms and conditions that we hardly even look at, and how interesting the government is taking action and coming up with certain policies. And yes, we'll all try to ensure that we become the masters of the internet, though I'm not sure how easy it's going to be, but yeah. So our next speaker for today is Abhip Shapal. Dr. Abhip Shapal, I'm sorry. So thank you for joining us. Abhip Shapal has done her PhD in information systems from the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. She did her BTech computer science and I believe engineering from West Bengal University of Technology. So we welcome you on board. Over to you.
Thank you, Ashna. Thank you for the introduction. And yes, so I would like to take forward where Professor Nina already left you there somewhere. So what are the various kinds of threats that we as citizens, as users face all the time, and after telling you some scary stories, I'm also going to tell you that what we can do. So, I really liked one of the quotes Maria had said that, you are just making a wrong click, or you're making a mistake. So let us see what are the mistakes we make, or, sometimes it is not even avoidable, as Nina was saying, that we wouldn't even know sometimes when something is going wrong on our system. So with the advent of internet, as Nina was saying, the businesses are transforming, right? So everything is going online now, and we are also expecting everything to be served online. We are not okay with, now if I can say from my perspective, I am lazy enough to just go out of the main gate of my institute to do some grocery shopping. So I don't want to walk out of IIMK, and I am always complaining that why don't we have better delivery services, and we do have some delivery services that comes to my doorstep. So I don't want to make trips to the store. I don't want to make trips to the banks or ATMs. I don't want to make cash transactions. And I am sure, and you guys must be feeling it even more. So you are thinking that what is this going to the store she's talking about? She must be a prehistoric person. So yes, but we still go out sometimes. You guys will not be going out even to buy anything that you need. It should be at the at your fingertips on the phone. So when we are expecting this, and when we are doing this, we are also expecting seamless transactions. So we want to pay also online, and therefore most of the payments nowadays are done online, particularly the ones where we are transacting online, and that has opened us up to online frauds also. So if it's not very different from offline fraud. So in offline cases, back then we used to carry money, and my mother still carries money, and she loses money in the bus, some pickpocket picks it up, or in the markets or something, and we don't do that. So I tell her, why do you carry money? And on the other hand, I am being exposed to even greater risk, where she has a fixed amount of money in her bag, whereas my entire bank account is open to be attacked by the fraud. So yeah, so that is, on one side it is making our lives easier by we don't have to do the cash transactions. On the other side, we are always open to these things. So let me give you an example, an incident basically, which actually happened with me. So after I joined IIM Kozhikode, it was just before the start of the pandemic. And why I say pandemic, and why pandemic is extremely relevant for this discussion, is you wouldn't believe the number of cases that has risen in cybercrime during the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you are making any guesses, let me tell you, it has risen in India 5 times, and in globally also it has risen greatly. And it is obvious, right? So now we are communicating, we are transacting, everything has moved online. So the amount of online trust, online transactions, online movements, communication has increased drastically, giving a scope to the fraudsters also to take advantage of that. So again, going back to what happened with me. So I joined IIMK in just before the pandemic, 1 or 2 months before, and it was just after the lockdown, and I had come to office, and I opened my desktop, and I got a mail from the director saying that, Abhijit, I need a small help from you. Can you quickly let me know if you're available? And my immediate reaction was, and that was, that now pandemic has normalized a little bit, right? But that time pandemic was a serious crisis, and my institute's director, senior professor, he needs help. So without thinking, even the second time, I immediately replied to that email that, yes sir, let me know what you need. That was my immediate reaction. It was not even a thought process. My immediate reaction was, yes sir, what do you need? And then he replies to me that, I am in a meeting, and I am, stuck, and I don't have access to my phone. So can you quickly buy some Amazon gift cards and send me the detail of the Amazon gift card? And that is when that is when it clicked me that my director will not ask me to do that, right? So but I feel, and I have heard stories, I have heard stories where the conversations are not so direct. It goes on for a while. The confirmation is established that he's not a fraud person, and then the story is more realistic, and then the Amazon gift card or your bank details, etc. pops up. So it is, and I work with mobile payment risks. My core area of research is looking at the various risks of mobile payments, and I got completely unsuspected by that first comment. And if he had done a little better job, I think I might have even given him some money also. So these are the kind of things that are happening. So basically, it is this phenomena is termed as social engineering, meaning that somebody is trying to do this fraud by the social skills, so the way he is talking, right? So there are other examples of social engineering where you will get a call, and just now Nina was giving examples where you will get a call and you will be asked to send money to this account, and or you will be not asked to send money. They'll say that just share your account details and your pins and all your things that you're not supposed to share, so that they can transfer you money, something like this. So that they are going to tap onto the psyche of people, where people want money, people want to win rewards, and then people are going to share their bank accounts, and then they are going to just obviously use it and withdraw money. So there is this famous Jamtara village case. You must have heard about it. So it's a village located in Jharkhand, and there is an entire racket going on where people are making these calls constantly. So they are trained to socially, persuade unsuspecting callers, and then they keep on trying, and the ones who are vulnerable, they are going to target them, and something like this, reward, or they will call saying that we are calling from the bank, can you send me your bank details? And as soon as you do that, they are going to withdraw the money, and they will have these bank accounts where they quickly close the bank account, they'll withdraw it, so the police also won't be able to track you. There is another case from which apparently the first Jamtara head was inspired. So there was a racket going on in originating in New Delhi. So the racket was doing this. First, they will do this quiz, a very easy quiz. They'll give a picture of a celebrity or half a picture of a celebrity and say, recognize this picture, or some hazy picture, and you will be like, yeah, I can recognize, I think this is this person. So you think that you have won a prize, you have recognized this person, and you are going to get a prize, and then they'll say, oh, you have done it, so you have recognized this prize, so now can you send us some transaction fee so that we can send you your car, or something very valuable, and you send the fee, and then it's gone. So these kind of crimes and these kind of threats have multiplied fivefold, as I told you, during COVID-19, because we are now so dependent on online, and if we are constantly transacting and living online, basically, naturally our tendency is to keep our guard down. Sometimes it's very difficult to constantly keep our guards up. So to keep our guards down, and what can we do so that we kind of not fall into their traps, right? So one thing is, which I learned the hard way. I mean, okay, thank God I didn't lose money, but still it was one step there. So is to check the email address once. Whenever there is a monetary transaction or somebody asking you for some detail or some favor or something, just check the email ID. Is it a real ID, right? Or another advantage that we have as Indians, you might have heard things that India may not be technically advanced as much as the West, but let me tell you that India has the two-factor authentication, which most of the Western countries do not have. So by two-factor authentication, you must have heard about it, and whenever you buy something, you will be getting this one OTP on your phone. So that is the second factor. First factor is you have to enter some password or some transaction thing on the screen, and then on your phone you will get it. So this phone is the second factor that verifies you as the actual user. So this is not available in many other countries. So naturally, this is this is mandated by India. So if you are making an Indian transactions, you will get it, but it is not mandated globally. So hence, if you are making an international transaction, there is no two-factor authentication. So often you will be hearing these news that, you know, your money was transferred abroad. So your credit card was used and your money was transferred abroad. And again, you know, I had faced something similar. The credit card information from Amazon was tried to be hacked. They couldn't complete it, but it was tried to be hacked. And why they couldn't complete it? Because I had turned off the international transaction setting. So this is again something we all can do. If we are using credit cards, there is always this option of turning off international transaction setting unless and until you need it, and it is just one click. So you have to just, you know, click it off and click it on, and you can protect yourself from such frauds, because in Indian transactions are going to protect you with the two-factor authentication. So without your phone and OTP sharing, you will not face that. And of course, you know, there are cases where you know, you are trying to buy something from a restaurant, and then the restaurant says that you have to book it, and you know, you get this link saying that you book here, and you click on the link, and basically that link is not the link of the restaurant, but it is a link of some other, you know, it's a fraud link, so it is pretending to be the restaurant. And then you click, and then they ask for money, and you think that you are transferring 25 rupees or something for booking or something like that, and then you enter your card details to transact that 25 rupees, but you finally end up transacting 25,000 rupees. So how does that happen? Because it was not the restaurant at all that sent you. It's a fraud site that is pretending to be the restaurant, which is, you know, you must have heard the common term phishing. So by phishing, it means that, you know, you are pretending to be somebody else, a authenticated site, a reliable site, but you are somebody else, and you are the user is trusting you and sending you the money, sending you the details. Or it can be, you know, asking for your card information and other things. So these things are, with the advent of internet, we are getting everything at our doorstep, but we are also paying the cost, and all the costs, you know, Professor Day and Professor Nina discussed all the various costs that we are paying, at the cost of our data, and at the cost of the risk that we are running into through these transactions. But at the same time, you know, what do we do? So we cannot say no to internet completely. So we can be careful. We can be careful. We can be aware of the protection that government is giving us, and, you know, take the advantage of that, and do not share the OTP. So it writes on the OTP itself. We often don't read that. We pick out the number and read it, but it says do not share the OTP with anyone. So never share the OTP, and turn your international transactions off when you don't need it, and be a little careful. Do not share your data, or do not give money to the director of your institute. So okay, so I will stop here, and we can move forward.
Thank you, Dr. Abhipsha, for enlightening us on how we can avoid scams, on how we can avoid international transactions that may actually be a fraud and may actually lead to a lot of your money going for no intentional mistake of yours. So moving on, actually, I'd like to thank all of you once more. And now moving on, Yashwant, can you take over for the panel discussion?
Yeah, sure. Thank you all the speakers, and we move on to the question and answer session for now. There are a few instructions which I would like to share before we proceed to the question and answer session. All the participants are requested to turn on their videos before they ask the questions, and raise their hands if somebody else is speaking or asking the questions. And if your internet is poor, or if you're not able to speak, then you can definitely type out your questions on the chat box, which I'll be reading it out for the particular speaker. And also please mention the speaker's name next to your question if you want to ask a particular question to the respective speaker. And at the end of the session, there'll be a feedback form posted on the chat box, which I request everyone, all the participants, to please fill it out in order to get the certificates. Thank you.
I see a question. Just take it up. So the question is,
Okay,
what about the?
Is
Yeah.
posted by Shivkumar sir. Okay. The question is about what about the Data Protection Act's execution at the execution level? Is only awareness among public enough, just like ATM frauds, internet, financial frauds, etc.? Any other executional lapses against cybersecurity? Anyone from the panelists are requested to answer the particular question.
So I'll try and attempt. So see, definitely awareness is not enough. Okay, awareness is just a starting point, which gets us in control. But as Abhiksha was saying, there's a process which has been set up that it is a two-factor authentication wherever it is applied. So for any cybersecurity fraud, there are three pillars which are very important. One is people, process, and technology. So using technology, a lot of fraud. So like, for example, like Abhipsha's case, in my case also, I had done a transaction and it was an international transaction, and within 15 days of that, I got a call at 4 o'clock in the morning saying that some other transaction is happening in US and I mean, are you doing it? Okay, because it is at a weird time, right? It is at a weird Indian time, and most of my transactions are in India. So the AI system that these guys have, that HDFC guys or whatever, the AI you call it, just probably to sound it better, but some system technology which is in place to understand that this is an anomaly. This is not something which regularly happens. This on this card, this is not a regular type of transaction. So they called and the theft was stopped right there. So either it has to be done through a technology or it has to be done through people, my own awareness, and as Abhisha was mentioning, saying that okay, my international transaction is done, I should have gone back and disabled my further international transactions. Plus process is what this two OTPs come into picture, the second factor authentication. So a combination of people, process, and technology is what is required. One of them, absolutely, they will not work.
If the other panelists also want to add anything, and I also request all the student participants here, this is the right platform to get your answers for questions related to cyber security.
So I'll add a little bit. Sorry, Abhiksha.
No, go ahead, sir. Yes.
I'll just add to Nina's comment. Yes, awareness is not enough. We have to understand that both the process and the steps. I was just going to add about the government's role. The government has the IT Act, which is operating in India. It was passed in 2009, which gives a fairly broad scope for addressing these kinds of crime. But specifics are missing, and partly because this field evolves very rapidly. So under the IT Act, some things can be checked, but not everything. Now there is a data protection bill in Parliament which has not been cleared. But once it clears, many of these other issues about copying data or faking data, about privacy, protecting privacy, some of those issues will come under the ambit of an act. But at present, it is not there. Yeah, go ahead, Abhiksha.
Yes, I also wanted to sir, I think that act also classifies our data as sensitive versus not normal data. So, for example, if I am transacting or I am using PTM, so my bank account details and my name and date of birth, those kind of information, even Paytm will not be allowed to reuse it anywhere else, even for their own marketing purposes or anything. Whereas certain information which are not tagged as sensitive, they can even share it with third party, which is very common. These apps often, particularly gaming apps and all, might be sharing certain information with third party. But there is a tag with the kind of information that kinds of protects us. That is why, thankfully, without our consent, most of our information are still protected. Although we are putting our bank account details and everything on the mobile phone and on various other platforms. So I think that act protects the sensitive information to be not shared or reused by the apps at all. Yes. I think there is.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. There's another question posted by 20MEC23. They ask, is cyberbullying and cybercrime, are they similar?
Okay, I'll address that. It is no, they are not the same thing. Cyberbullying actually is not a crime. It is bullying, just like in normal cases. If in a school bus somebody bullies you, it's strictly not a crime. It is unethical behavior. It is improper behavior, but it's not a crime as yet. One has to be careful of it because the bullying escalates, and it is meant to threaten people and to push them off certain sites. So if you are if you're in a group which is discussing something related to maybe environmental action, or just like the Disha Ravi case, bullying was very rampant. If you supported Disha Ravi, there were a lot of people bullying you. They were abusing you. They were threatening you. So that's not a crime, strictly speaking. So they're not the same thing. But one has to be careful. One is to stand up to it and say, no, I'm not going to tolerate the bullying. Other thing is to withdraw. Okay. Anything to add, Nina, Abhisha?
So, okay, Abhisha, you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it is an example of crime, maybe not in India, but at other places I think it is categorized as crime, but it is just an example of a cyber crime. So cyber crimes are 100 types. One of them is cyberbullying. So that's all.
I believe there's another question in the chat box to the panelist. 20PM05 has posted. He has a quick question, he or she. There was one time when I knew I had to renew my vehicle's insurance, but then the insurance is registered in my father's and my number. But unlikely, from an unknown source, my mother received a notification and link via an unknown person regarding insurance renewal. I cross-verified the details and every single one of them were correct. How did that unknown person receive all my vehicle's insurance? Plus, they charged me 1.8K for that. Can you tell me the cost of this leaked information about my vehicle? Many have shared a pain in this regard, I believe, many participants. So, over to the panelists.
See, what I think in exactly this particular case, we wouldn't know, okay, who is that particular company or organization or an individual. But given that our data protection laws are not in place as of now, lot of these companies keep selling. So one insurance company, they are making money by insurance. That is fine. They are also making money by selling your information to the other organization. So this is, in fact, if you go to, I have my own experience with insurance. I went to buy insurance. We wanted to buy it from a national provider because we heard a lot of stories from this private provider. So I go to National Insurance Corporation and I go and tell them, and the guy there says that no, this is not good and all of that. And he says that why don't you go and take it from some private guy? And within 2 days, I get a call from a private company saying that, okay, do you want an insurance, right? So this is extremely rampant. because of we do not having very strong data protection laws is one business is primary business, the other side business is by generally selling data, and there are a lot of people there to buy data. So he would have sent it to anybody. So you want to add something?
Professor Rahul and Professor Abhipsa, want to add anything? You can.
Yeah, just one point that as Nina said, companies are selling. Sometimes these are rogue employees within companies. It may not be a company's policy to sell, but they will take the data and make a private transaction on the side. For instance, sometimes you may have heard of something called SMS jacking, which is your phone number is temporarily assigned to somebody else, and this is to divert the OTPs. So somebody is they may call you and say, oh, you're in trouble and so on, and you may initiate a transaction in which an OTP is supposed to come to you. And you may be wary that I won't tell you what it is, but actually that OTP gets diverted to somebody else's phone, and they use it to, steal money from you. How they do this is they are in cahoots with the provider, with whoever your provider is. Maybe it's BSNL, maybe it's Airtel. So somebody in the office is working with them to divert your number to that case. So these are rogue cases. These are not the companies which are at fault here, but people are cheating in the background. Okay, Abhipsha?
I was also, thinking in those lines that we do not know who has access, because finally in a company there are employees who has access, and there has been many other scams also related to the fact that finally there is a database person who is actually accessing the database, and that person can misuse the information. So in fact, many of the bigger scams has happened either because of because of a mistake by one of the employees, or because of intentional data leakage. So yes, so it could be. We cannot say from the incident whether it was the company who leaked it or it was the person who leaked it. Yes.
Okay, so there is the next question in the chat box. That is, to what extent can the government trace on any information posted on social media? I think all the panelists can answer, like whoever wants to go first.
Okay, I'll answer that. If the government classifies that information as a security risk or as some form of threat to national security, they can trace it completely. They will know who originated the message, because they can issue commands to the social media companies, which they do. They will go and ask Twitter, they will ask Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and they will trace back the sequence of messages and identify the person. So the government has the rights. Now there is again a pending legislation on intermediary liability. So intermediaries are required to provide this information upon request, and it has to be legally correct request. So there may be an arrest warrant or there may be a case of this sort. So it is possible for government to trace everything, but that case has to be made.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And we move on to the next question. How do you avoid social media when everything is sent on social media? Like your college information, sometimes like you were pointing out in a group, the number of messages get doubled. So how do you avoid that?
Can I answer that first?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I believe it is. I'll say this. I'm an academic, so are my colleagues here. We think it is. I think it's incorrect to use social media for academic purposes. I think it should be stopped. You should not be sending out academic material, reading materials, timetables, etc. on social media. It's a big mistake. First is security is not a big issue there because it's not really secret information, but it is highly distracting. If you go into social media to read something about your class notes, actually there'll be 1,000 other messages waiting there which have nothing to do with your academics. It is better to use in the institutional email arrangements. Email is an ancient social media. It is very productive. It's very useful. It does not have those distractive qualities. Of course, you get lots of email, but you can still control it, and it is well regulated. It is also not subject to so much intrusion as social media. So my take, I'll repeat, academic work should not be on social media. There should be no posts on Instagram or WhatsApp or Facebook for academic purposes. In fact, the Teams, Windows Teams is an excellent tool for sending out messages, and it's restricted to classes. I will also add here very quickly, there are massive instances of cheating, copying on social media, because many exams are being done online. There are massive instances, and this is, it is not very healthy for students to be on it. Okay, over to you guys.
Yes, I agree. In fact, we don't share any official information on social media. But at the same time, sometimes, these kind of webinars and all are often advertised on social media so that if, in case people have missed their regular emails or something, and, alumni can also take a look. So often that is done. So you cannot, in that sense, be not looking at social media at all. But that should be only maybe, for very specific kind of marketing things of one type of information. It should not be regular information. I completely agree with Professor. It should not be regular information because distraction is real. It might sound like I have a lot of control, but that is not true. So we sit on the table and chair. This entire culture of table and chair is so that we are not distracted by the various other activities. And now in front of us, we have an entire world to be distracted by. So we have to keep control, and but if we have to access social media for daily activities, it becomes a little difficult. And even in email, sir, imagine email is the least distracting social media. Even in emails, it often happens I open for one purpose to mail somebody, and there are this bunch of emails, and I get to replying them first. And then I forget what I had originally opened the email for, because these are important information, although they are related to work. Now multiply this in social media. There is important information, boring information, and there is attractive information of some gossip or some video or some funny thing coming up. So it is very unlikely that work will get done in the expected amount of time. So yes, I completely agree with Sir.
Thank you, speakers. And okay, we have another question. On a scale of 1 to 5, how will you? Sorry?
Before you read out the question, I think we should ask Shiv Kumar sir to unmute and ask his doubt. He's been raising for a while.
Okay, so if you have any doubt, please, feel free to ask.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. I would like to thank the three panelists who are giving us enormous information about the cybersecurity and the cybercrime. But why governments across the countries are delaying execution of these kind of data protection bills, or what are the hiccups faced by these governments? See, there is something called as ethics also, which are associated with any activity in our society. See, as panelists suggested just now, the data which is sold illegally by some rogue employees of several companies keep on disturbing us. However, awareness we try to develop, at the end of some point we get cheated. So where does ethics and this kind of a cyber activity or internet protocol associate themselves? I think I hope I am expressing my question properly. Uh, Thank you. If you can answer my question, please.
Ethics, as long as if you're talking about business ethics of not using data which does not belong to you or for which you've not taken permission to, I think that is in front of profits that the companies make. I think they always keep ethics at the back seat. That is what I understood of ethics of, I mean, what you were saying. On the other side of it, when you're talking about that not pushing data protection bills ahead by governments, absolutely. I mean, the work has been done 3-4 years back that the act, it has been ready and it was put in parliament, and then there were a lot of changes which are made. Yeah, 4 years that it has been done. So I think this requires, see what happens is I think even government has a lot of leeway in looking at data. So when this data protection bill comes in, it restricts government's access to the data also. So I think there is some, I mean, they are not very happy with bringing the bill. Because it will restrict their access to the data also. But that is where everybody has to move on. GDPR has come in. We are almost ready with it. But I mean, I think it is just a matter of political, very strong will to bring it in. Professor Dev, maybe he will.
Yes,
That's the word I was expecting from the panelists. Political will to help the public is actually needed more. See, if you take a case of any ATM fraud also to the cyber police, they take it as lightly as possible. When a common man loses even 5,000 or 10,000 rupees also, how much of financial burden will be there of one individual, and that leads into the country's financial burden itself. Thank you, Dr. Nina.
Yes, I fully agree. It hurts the common man the worst, and they are being looted of money through these simple scams. To add to Nina's point, I believe there is some resistance from the private players also, because the private players also benefit hugely from this access to data. And they have gone and raised some objections saying, maybe you should remove this clause and remove that clause, which is why it's been under discussion, and there have been separate committees which have worked on it repeatedly, including one of Karnataka's persons, Mr. Chandrasekhar. He's actually heading that committee right now, the subcommittee. And there is paralysis. I think both cases are true. Government is also very unclear, and private sector are imposing certain restrictions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rahul. I think we can compare this to any kind of mafias then. The private players are trying to hinder the passage of data protection bill. Can be compared to any kind of mafia like water mafia, sand mafia, or even transport mafia, which is existing in our country then. Then what is government's role here? If everything has to be dependent on our own awareness and our own alertness, then there is no role in law at all. Thank you very much. I don't want to prolong my discussion.
I will just add one point here. So as I told you, when we were running this startup on cybersecurity, and we used to visit these police stations, although there was a constant flow of people who have had these financial frauds, many of them, I would say most of them, not less than 50-60% of them were because they were giving their OTPs. So what police guys will do, I mean, in many cases, it was different cases also. It was different reasons also, but police would say, what do we do? If because it is a two-factor authentication, which is a process is set, but even in two-factor authentication, this is happening. So they were kind of putting it back on the person's awareness. Although we kept telling them that, see, somebody is calling them. This guy has that number who has called him. So why are you not tracking who that person is who has called him to get the OTP and kind of figure out? But yes, they have not been proactive. They try to keep putting it on the awareness of the public.
That is also because, here the banks, if they can prove that it was your mistake, they don't have to pay us back. Contrasting, I think, America, some of the Western countries, even if it is, so there is no if. So if there is a fraud and if you report it within this window, the banks will always have to pay back. So the banks are proactive in the awareness. Whereas here, if they can prove that it was our mistake, if we didn't share OTP, then they definitely pay back. But if we didn't, if we shared OTP, then the banks try to blame it on us also.
I believe there's one more question on the chat. On a scale of 1 to 5, how will you rate our information security of our nation, specifically public databases like Aadhaar, which are highly sensitive and much more compromisable? And can we rely on this for how long, according to our data security measures?
I think at least I teach a case on Aadhaar in my class, and hence there is a lot of discussion on how many students support Aadhaar system and how many will move away from Aadhaar, basically move their support away from Aadhaar in what different cases. And security comes up as one of the most prominent thing, that if they are not sure that government can ensure the security of the data, then they will move away. They will not support Aadhaar anymore. There is a website which talks about data is beautiful, or I think information is beautiful, and it shows the bubbles of the biggest data security events which have happened, and the biggest one is of Aadhaar. It is from across the world, and the biggest one is from Aadhaar. So yes, there are concerns, but cyber, and but I think I've heard in Nandan Lekani's interviews and all, he talks about doing the best that they can, and we do not have shortage of technologists who can do a very good job. The problem is also that the technology is evolving so much that whatever you do, the people who have to do crimes or they have to do something, they're always ahead, one step ahead, and trying to do it in a probably better way. So I'm not here defending government for saying that they should not invest enough, but this is going to be a what cat and mouse game, that you are continuously being updating and trying to do things right, trying to keep it secure.
Okay, if the other panelists are not adding, just to wind up with the last question, I don't want to create a gap between the participants who are more likely going to get offended, or again, the teaching community and the academics on the other side. There's just a balancing act. But before that, there's a question from a student. According to you, which is the best country with cybersecurity? If the panelists want to add a comment, then I'll post my question. And how many years it will take India for reaching that place? Okay.
Israel, sir, at least whatever is known otherwise, I mean, Israel is the country which at least I know of. I do not know if how many years, I have no idea.
Israel is very good because they make most of the weapons.
Yes, so yes. Yeah.
So the countries which are very good at attacking are actually North Korea, China, Israel. North Korea implemented it's now widely believed, they implemented the Bangladesh bank heist, which was looting the Bangladesh bank of $80 million. The Bangladesh bank is like the RBI of Bangladesh. And it was beautifully executed, a marvel of social engineering and pre-planning. So I don't know how secure they are themselves, but I can say that they are brilliant at looting. So if we go by these Bollywood formulas that thieves make the best guards, because they know how to how to break into the bank, maybe those countries. Abhipsha, over to you.
Best country. We don't have to, we don't have to be at somebody's place. So we can be we and we can still be good. We don't have to be at somebody's place. We can take the best from each other. And this is, of course, another discussion. This is not a cybersecurity discussion, but we are always under the impression that if we do like the best, that is going to be the best solution to security, to everything else. But that is not the case. I just now gave you the example of why we are more secured. Our government is protecting our money more than most of the Western countries are. So we can focus on where we are going wrong and what we can do over there. So often, Professor Nina was mentioning that the police was not encouraging, and it often looks like that government is not supporting it. But we also have to see the infrastructure that we have. The police is getting cases of crores of frauds versus, I understand that your 10,000 rupees is high, but even the police is overburdened with their responsibilities and the cases they are solving. So there's a lot of other things that come into picture when we want to excel in one side only. So we have to be top in infrastructure, but there are many other factors that the government has to bear, which also, comes at the cost of taking the cost away from there and putting it there. So this kind of judgments, we cannot imitate the other countries and reach there someday, because we have other things to take care of.
Thank you. As I said, the last question to wind up the webinar, to the panelists, what would you suggest for the educational institutions, the management of the institutions, on regulations to the use of social media within campus, in campus? Now, more so with the pandemic, all these rules are broken. So they have come to become part and parcel of the system. So how are we going to manage? More so, we have gone into an online mode of conducting exams. You already deliberated and said the pros and cons of information posted on social media. If you could deliberate from the academic perspective of handling such situations inside the campus or in the functioning of the campus reaching to the students. On the other side, the students community, because this is one thing that we also, though the majority chunk here are students, the pressure, the social media pressure, or you call it one step further, the addiction. How are they going to, what are your suggestions to the students on this balanced act? They would very easily shoot back and tell, why was it made if not to be used? Is it going to be an all or none phenomenon? I totally go into this or I put off. I hear some people giving it up just to stay focused on their academics or studies, or if it is too disturbing. So if they are going to do so, how is this balanced act going to be? The time management, what are the issues associated with this? I have bundled it into a big pack. I will leave it to the panelists to help both the academic people, the institutions, as well as the students on the other hand with regards to this. I hope I have conveyed the question, the content.
Let me go first. I had make comments on this. So I sympathize with your question. It is a very good question. I believe, and this is my personal belief, we are seeing this on our campus here. Social media is very good for extracurricular activities. Students use it. We have older students, so I feel now over the years they are a little more mature in managing the use. They use it mainly for what I will call productive purposes, coordinating meetings and things. To send out academic material on social media, I think is not a very advisable method. Using traditional email is okay. Again, there are distractions there, but I think it's much more under control. And you asked, what are the habits? I think this has to be inculcated. It is like a drug, frankly. I mean, there is no other way I will put it. The only way to control a drug is to restrain its use. It will come back and claim you. So you have to, all students, everybody on this call should understand that put a restriction of time. I'm going to look at social media at between 6 and 7 in the evening. That's it. If you say that, everybody begins to respect that. I'll give you my personal viewpoint. I'm not on Facebook. I have a WhatsApp account, but I check it sometimes when I'm forced to, because people call me up, tell me that, you know, I've sent you something on WhatsApp, look at it. Then I look at it. Otherwise, I check it once a week. And even then, I don't reply to most things. I just, if I have to, I go on email or call them. I have administrative responsibilities for which, you know, some people use WhatsApp, but I'm completely opposed to it. I believe it's wrong. It is a huge problem. Students who are at 20, 21 years of age, you know, if you're addicted to this, if you can't break away, it will become a huge problem later on. Now, I may be sounding very preachy here, but I have to say this. You have to restrict the time, you have to restrict the activities, control the amount of information going on it, restrict your personal information. Don't put your own pictures, don't put your profile, don't put your date of birth, don't say happy birthday. Don't say happy birthday, Nina, on her birthday. You're revealing her birthday. It's vital information. This cannot be done. This has to be controlled. Sorry, I'm getting passionate about it because this is a matter of very serious. I mentioned cheating to you. There is massive cheating going on using social media. Massive. And also there is this displacement going on. Some people will cheat and put the blame on others. And you cannot fight this. And there will be evidence that is produced, and then, you know, this is really, really problematic. It has to stop. Examination software, you asked Dr. Jay Shankar, examination software, all of them are prone to leakages. I have tested 3 of them personally. There are several more. They are not proof. They can be fixed. They can be manipulated. And students know this. The best way to do exams is in physical classrooms. That's the only way, under traditional proctoring. All the Zoom proctoring, Digi proctoring, this stuff doesn't work. That's my experience. So over to you, Nina, Bipsha.
So, okay, so I'll also talk about both the sides. One is examination, because we were, as soon as we were thrown in to become a faculty, we had to give exams in an online mode. What I have realized is, at least my question, so while we expect that the students are doing cheating and doing a lot of things that they shouldn't, I think it has also given an opportunity for teachers to think very differently and think about giving questions which make them think. So I have, in fact, just today, right now, my exam is going on, and I've spent yesterday whole day in creating the question paper. And I kept on thinking that what is it which will make them think? So the context has to be something. I mean, at least my question papers, I have realized, even then, it is not that they don't cheat at all. But we being faculty, we have an idea to know whether they are cheating or not. But I think it has given us an opportunity to think a little bit beyond how we used to give examinations earlier. So that is one, but otherwise, though, I'm sure all of us are getting extremely stressed about how much they are learning and all of those things. So that concern remains. On the other aspect of the students and social media restriction, yes, so this is actually, probably it is our generation which is thinking that yes, we should restrict it, and obviously I had Facebook, which I closed when I after first year of PhD, because it was not possible to do both the things together. The students also have to realize, as Professor Dev was saying, that right to privacy you're violating is we do not have right to be forgotten. You know what I have seen in my house, in my case, I've seen that students are talking and they are writing anything about anyone without realizing that, okay, and they would say that that person is not in this chat, in this group. If he or she's not there, but that chat can be sent to her, and then there is a permanency in what you do in this digital world, in this social world. Whatever you have done 4 years back, all of these students would have seen this Aryan Khan case, right? What happened? He wrote something on WhatsApp. He wrote something on WhatsApp which was said that it was construed as something which people talk about in when they talk about drugs, right? Which may or may not be the case. The whole idea is that once you have written something, it is there somewhere. Everybody is saving what they are chatting. If you are not saving, Facebook is saving. If you are not saving, Google is saving. If law enforcement agencies go and tell them you have not done something wrong, but your friend's friend has done something wrong, and then the link will come to you and all the data will be analyzed, and in what context, on what day you had a fight with that person and hence you wrote like this, all that would be forgotten. But what you wrote is what is seen, and you will be liable for everything that you have written or done on internet. So do not think that you are using incognito mode and then you are doing this. No, incognito, I cannot know what you are doing. Your parents will not know what you are doing, but Chrome still knows. Google still knows what you are doing. Okay, so when it will be a time to check on that what has been happening, then there is a significant permanency that you have with all that you have ever done on the internet. So beware, be cautious. So and as sir said that I do not know. See, I also understand that students have like this huge pressure. When we were growing up, we did not have so many distractions. So it is very difficult for students nowadays. It is more difficult life for them. But they will have to deal with it. We had difficulties of other sorts. They have difficulties of other sorts. So you will have to deal with it. You will have to figure out how to come out of it. Abhipsha.
Yes, I completely agree. In fact, after my college, so during my college, we didn't have much social media. We had Orkut. So after my college, Facebook came into picture, and that's when I joined Infosys. Infosys has a very strict policy, so all their devices are because of their privacy. They say it because of their privacy. They do not allow any kind of these things, YouTube, Facebook, nothing. So it will just block. The blocker will just block. And in fact, you are not even supposed to do it on your phone, but they don't have control if it's your own internet. We didn't do it because it was not legal. We didn't want to lose our jobs. And the productivity is so high. Those 3 years of productivity has been so high, and it becomes a habit, right? And then when I joined FPM program, also when I joined my PhD program, I was, because I had gone through that stage where I was that restricted window. So was saying about that, only after I can come home or get access to internet, I can do these things. So that window was automatically becoming a habit for me, and naturally the addiction, I was able to overcome the addiction. And I feel that that restricted window today, if there is an external restriction possible, then that's a different issue. If that is not possible, you will never regret it. So this is my suggestion to the student. And please do not think that I am now on this side. It was not, and I am still not on this side. So we still have to work, and we still have this problem of getting swayed away with things that are non-work, right? So but this is, you will not regret it. So as a result of having no access to social media, we have friends from office who are still my friends, because we can talk to each other. And when I used to go back home with my roommates, they're still my friends, because back then I am not constantly chatting with my friends who are at office in some other place, which is very difficult today. So today, when I have access to so much of social media, often when I am upset about something here, or if I am distressed, I am not going to walk to the next office. I have like all colleagues, and most of them are my age. sitting in a line, I don't walk to them. I just pick up my phone and message my old friend from PhD program. But what is happening? That is giving me an immediate happiness, right? I'm able to share my problem with her, but I am not making any friends who would be of support to me even, more, because they are in the same situation. So I am telling you from my experience, if you refrain it, it will be difficult. It will be difficult for first week, second week, but you will, and it doesn't mean that if you are not chatting or if you're not using social media, you cannot enjoy yourself. You are not restricting yourself from not enjoying yourself. You can still do something that interests you, read a book, or write something or sketch something. But if you start this, it is going to help you, and within 2 weeks you are going to see how much time is saved and how much enjoyment you are getting from things that are more valuable even to you. You will only realize, because at the end of a long discussion, which is going to be permanent forever, mostly about a third person, that after that long discussion, what are we really gaining? Instead, if we draw something on a notepad, we feel so good about it. And then maybe your social media should share that picture. So as sir was saying, use it for a motivation. Use it to share the picture, use it to share your achievements and feel motivated about it. And that is something I really like, that nowadays institutes are doing it. So since we are on social media, use it for the benefit. So anybody's achievement is put up there. So that's a motivation angle. Yeah, so you will have to do it now. So now the external agents cannot force anything on you. You will have to do it, and you are responsible for your future and your present. So yes.
Thank you, panelists, for that enlightening reply. I hope the students got the trail where to proceed with. They are the end users, like what Dr. Nina was talking about, and you are the masters, and don't become slaves. Use it for constructive purpose. That's what was told. I hope I did a balancing act, not harming either side. And thanks for the reply, for the toxic setup that is, and thanks for those wonderful detox suggestions that you all gave. Thank you very much. On my part, as the head of the department and also the coordinator for Natural Science Association, I'm grateful to all of you, all three of you, Professor Rahul, Dr. Abib Chapal, and Dr. Nina, for accepting our invitation to be the speakers for this webinar. Thank you for all the support that came by way of the sharing of information and also giving suggestions to our students. There is a formal vote of thanks that Yashwant should be doing, but I take this opportunity also to thank the management for providing and supporting us and encouraging us in conducting all these webinars and other activities as part of the Natural Science Association from the Department of Zoology, School of Life Sciences, St. Joseph's College. Thanks, and we are grateful to the principal, Reverend Dr. Victor Lobo. And I also thank Professor Selvin Paul is here, the NSS officer, for coordinating this webinar. More importantly, all the participants, I hope they have this detox suggestions taken, and I'm sure they're going to put to use the social media for a good purpose and know to balance things and in a way manage it appropriately. There's also take-home message that I will convey to the institution as part of what the academicians on the institution management can do. Very big thanks to all the 4 student coordinators. This, as I said, in a way is a brainchild of Ashna. She led the spirit of conducting it and making it big into a webinar. Thanks, Ashna, for that, and David. Both of you were in charge coordinators for this webinar. Yashwant, who is also our NSA president, and Maria Titus, the publicity committee member. Thank you, all of you, and all the participants and my colleagues who are here on the meeting. Over to Yashwant for the final vote of thanks. Thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. This is Yashwant Kumar, the president of Natural Science Association, St. Joseph's College. I'm glad to see a lot of members present here in huge numbers and making this event a success. And I am grateful to everyone present here. And I wholeheartedly thank all the speakers for today's webinar, that is Dr. Rahul sir, Dr. Abhip Shapal, and Dr. Nina Pandey. And at this era where the globe is digitalizing at a rapid rate, where everything is being switching off to online mode from offline mode, say from applying to college till we graduate, everything has been made online in this era. So, it's necessary for us to know about what are the downfalls and threats posed on social media, since we're going to be using a lot these days to attend all the classes, say whatever it might be. Hence, it becomes essential to know about what are the as downfalls and how to safeguard ourselves from these threats. So thank you once again to all the speakers present here. And I also sincerely thank Jay Shankar sir for giving us a platform to present such an informative webinar. And I also thank the management, Dr. Father Victor Lobo, and to all the core members of Natural Science Association and Selvin sir and NSS team for being able to support us for such an informative webinar. Thank you once again for making this evening a blissful one, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Participants, I request all of you to please fill out the Google form, which will be posted on the chat box to avail your certificates.
Yeah, I believe that's taking some time to get posted. Ashwant, can you coordinate with Ashna? There's some technical problem in posting the link.
Yes, sir. I'm going to post in like 1 minute, please.
Yeah.
I request everybody to please stay back for a minute.
This adds on to the flip side of technology, the glitches.
Dear participants, the feedback form has been posted on the chat box. I request everyone to fill out the feedback.
Yeah, as you fill up and submit, you can leave the meeting. Thank you all for being part of this webinar.